So, greetings. My name is Robert Fulton, and this is my speech on the ineffectiveness of abstinence-only based sex education in schools. Yes. By their 18th birthday, 6 in 10 teenage women and more than 5 in 10 teenage men have had sexual intercourse. Of the approximately 750,000 teenage pregnancies that occur each year, 82% are unintended, and more than one-quarter in an abortion. With a heavier push on sex education, the pregnancy rate among United States women aged 15 to 19 declined steadily during 1990 and 2002. Approximately 14% of the decline in pregnancies began in 1995 and 2002 was due to teens displaying sexual activity, while 86% was due to an increase in sexually active teen contraception. Despite the decline, the United States continues to have one of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the developed world. Hearing all of these facts, it seems that it would be not only irresponsible, but detrimental to ignore the need for comprehensive sex education in our schools today. In this speech, I will outline the historical intention behind the inclusion of sex education in school curriculum, sex education's current standing in national school systems, how comprehensive sex education compares to abstinence-based sex education, and why abstinence-only sex education is ineffective, as well as the parental viewpoint on this matter. Okay. In 1940, the U.S. Public Health Service strongly advocated sex education in the schools. They labeled it an urgent need. In 1953, the American School Health Association launched a nationwide program in family life education. 2 years later, the American Medical Association, in conjunction with the NEA, published 5 pamphlets that were commonly referred to as the sex education series. During that time, according to Rethink.org, sex education was referred to by conservatives as smut and raw sex. The Birch-Seinfeld group also called it a communist plot. And so even with support from health officials and educators, sex education opponents did not sway. And for the last 40 years, battles have raged between conservatives and health advocates over the merits and format of the sex education in schools. Okay. Today, teaching the subject of sex education is not as controversial as it was back in the early 20th century. Today, there are 2 main types of sex education classes. There is comprehensive sex education, as well as abstinence-based sex education. These programs represent 2 completely different schools of thought. While the comprehensive approach does not focus solely on teaching young people to abstain from sex until marriage, they do explain to them that it is beneficial to wait until you are emotionally and physically ready for sexual activity. They also give them the tools they need to better prepare themselves if they do decide to have sex. On the other hand, the abstinence-based approach to sex education focuses on teaching young people to completely abstain from any sort of sexual activity until marriage. They also claim that it is the only way in which you can avoid sexual transmitted diseases as well as unwanted pregnancies. Many supporters for abstinence-based approach also believe that it is morally wrong for people to have sex before they're married. Abstinence approaches are represented in programs such as Aspire and True Love Way, which both urge kids to make serious commitments about abstaining from sexual activity until they're married. But it seems that asking students of such young ages to make a commitment of that magnitude is kind of unrealistic, and in some cases could at 1992, the federal government has spent close to $1 billion on the abstinence-based only sex education program, despite growing evidence that these ideology-based programs are ineffective in preventing teen pregnancy and spreading sexually transmitted disease. The emphasis on abstinence-only sex education officially took off in 1996 when funding for the program was tacked on to President Clinton's welfare program. Also included was a congressional mandate for a long-term study of abstinence programs to measure how effective they were in impacting teen sexual practices as compared to no sexual education. In 2007, Sarah Brown, Executive Director of the National Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy, issued a report which states the following. There is not a lot of good news for abstinence-only based education. This was the first study with a solid experimental design, the first with an adequate number of long-term follow-up, and the first to measure behavior and not just intent. On every measure, the effectiveness of the program proved wise. Martha Kempner at the Sexuality Information and Education Council of America also agreed, stating comprehensive education means teaching about abstinence and a myriad of other topics among them. She said, contraception, critical thinking, one's own values, and the values of your family and your community are all taught in comprehensive sex education. Abstinence only, she explained, was an experiment and it failed. A parental viewpoint. A majority of parents, however, believe that teenagers should be given a strong message from society to abstain from sex until at least after high school. A Zogby International poll from the United States actually found that 78% of parents think that sex education classes in public schools should place more emphasis on promoting abstinence than on condoms and other contraceptives. Leaders in the medical field, however, disagree, insisting that schools provide an abstinence-only curriculum is not only hopelessly naive, it is also categorically unfair to young people. And this is according to the authors of the Journal of Adolescent Health Review. They also state, we believe that abstinence-only education programs, as defined by the federal funding requirements, are morally problematic. By withholding information and promoting questionable and inaccurate options, abstinence-only programs threaten the fundamental rights of health and information and life. And so, in conclusion, though sex education in any format is beneficial and essential to the education of a growing population of sexually inquisitive youth in America, abstinence-only programs are insufficient and leave teens unequipped and uninformed to face a world of sexual temptation and desire. And though high percentages of American teens display a severe lack in preventive measures related to teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, and overall contraceptive use, abolishing abstinence-only based sex education programs is the first step in pulling IUs back to the brink of destruction and equipping them with the tools they need to make informed decisions regarding their own lives.